we'll run through it again.
Yeah.
The whole team, and then we'll talk about some of the suggested changes that
I think really it's
we've
just the
been
backs
offered.
we need to run through, isn't it? That's what.
Yeah,
We'll
just go through it.
Okay,
we'll go through it from the.
I was going to say there was a lot. That was where the main issues were.
Yeah, I think
with
the
some
forwards
of
were
our
pretty
backs.
good. At number 1 we got Mako, Vunipola, Jamie George, and Ty Furlong in the front three, which I think that's a pretty solid front three. Yeah,
hard to knock that, isn't it?
Yeah. In the second row we got Mauro Toje and James Ryan. As Welsh fans, we would love it if Alan Wynne was in at number 4, but we were just thinking about whether or not he'll want to go on that
We've
tour.
picked with our head more than our heart.
Yeah,
really.
I would love to see him go on that tour.
Oh,
If he does decide to go, I would put him in at number 4. But yeah, and then 6 and 7 we got Tom Curry and Justin Tipuric, which will be a formidable pairing.
Yeah.
Both great running number 7s, both fantastic at the breakdown.
That Jackal is going to be
and they're both
unreal.
great running with the ball.
I think that's actually some of their biggest strengths. I think that's actually Tipperick's best quality is his ball in hand.
Yeah,
I think he's done well to fill in the void from what Warburton had in the Jackal.
That's the thing. Don't get me wrong. The last generation of Lions back rows, for a long time you had that Dan Lydia and Sam Warburton pairing, and it was a great pairing. And at the breakdown and tackling, like Dan Lydia, what a fantastic tackler Dan
Lydia was amazing. That game against France is the one game that I always remember.
And don't get me wrong,
hitting everyone.
Tom Curry and Justin Tipuric are both fantastic tacklers, but they've got that extra element, especially Justin Tipuric. But Tom Curry's nothing to be scoffed at on the ball. But Justin Tipuric, he can make yards. He will make yards for you as a running utility back row forward. And then number 8 we got CJ Stander. Again, I think that's a good pick. There are other number 8s, but for me, I think he would be the top one that I would choose.
Yeah, I think he's going to bring the steel going back. He's obviously South African partly, so I think that it'll be good to bring the steel that he's got, because you watch him playing for Ireland and he has got that intensity and he's got the physicality that I think you need, that was shown with England in the final against South Africa. You've got to bring physicality, because they will just send wave and wave, and they'll control the game. They do not care about making it flashy, making it exciting. They will just wear you down and hit everything 100 miles an hour.
For me as well, I just feel like I need to see more from Josh Navidi before. I think if you're going to take a replacement 8, or maybe he might even be a starting 8, again, there's so much contention between spots on this team. I think, Billy Vunipola would be the other obvious choice for another 8 you would take. I need to see more from Navidi. Maybe in this.
I think actually his World Cup might have played him into contention for the back. For the bench.
I mean, I think he's a fantastic number 8, but I think I've seen lots of consistent performances from Billy and CJ. I would include those.
I think recently he's looked better at 8 than he did at flanker for Wales.
Josh Navidi.
Yeah, and I
agree.
And I think in some of the games against some of the provincial teams, you could definitely play the Wainwright, Tipuric, Navidi if they're all fit.
And I think Wainwright would be on the bench for me. It might, to be honest, you might not even start him on the bench. He has been that good, you might start him. But for me, I think, there's so many. The back row is one place this Lions team just doesn't land.
I think Wainwright is.
He's in the team.
He's a shoe-in.
He's in the team, 100%. Whether or not he starts,
I think it'd be criminal if he's
that's
not.
Up to the coaches. But he's definitely good enough to start.
And we know
100%.
that in the Northern Hemisphere, there's so much back row talent.
It's crazy how much.
We're stacked everywhere. Every team, you look at it, Hamish Watson's. Every
he's
team.
Got to go as well.
Yeah, I know.
He's got to go as well.
I know. You've got a soft spot for it.
I love
every team has got an established back three that you could put in. You could interchange most of the players for each other, but it's where it gets to the backs this is where we had the comments were about the backs.
Yeah,
really.
most of them were about the backs, and most of them were about the back three as well, and the centres actually. But if we go to number 9, we had Gareth Davis.
Yeah.
Again, I think he's very good at controlling the game. He's very good at, off the base of scrums and the ruck of making plays. He doesn't just fling the ball out. He's a fantastic running number. I think in terms of running on the ball, he's the best in the Northern Hemisphere. In terms of running number 9s.
Obviously going to match up well with Faf, because you've got to watch de Klerk.
Yeah,
coming off the base for South Africa.
He is,
and listen, no one can do it really.
They both got the flair.
Yeah, Faf de Klerk didn't look as good against Wales as he did against England, but he looked good in both games. We're not saying that Wales did a better job of negating him, which we could easily say, but it was just, you've got to watch him because Faf de Klerk is so sneaky.
Yeah.
He'll just go for anything. He's brilliant.
I don't know if you agree, but I think the 9 shirt in England, sometimes I think they struggle to find someone that fits in that shirt.
I agree.
Because I think Farrell or George Ford at 10, you need to build the 9 and 12 roles around them for me, because they're just so good. Like either one, Farrell or Ford in 10, they are so good that I personally feel like you should build the 12 and 9 roles around them, because they're always going to be in that team for me, especially Farrell and Ford for me are just 2 players that England can't build a backline without them in it. So if you're going to pick a 9 that works well with one of those 2, and pick a 12 that works well, because that's why, in the centre, England have always been strong because they work well. If you, especially Ford and Farrell, Ford,
an axis 10, they call it, isn't it?
I think
10,
I would pick a 9 if I was the England selectors. I would pick a 9 that works well with one of them 2.
Yeah,
that would be. That's definitely going off topic.
Yeah, but this is our thing. We always go off topic with rugby.
Well, this is the thing as well. We had 10.
There's so much debate
in this line. So we had Finn Russell at 10, which again, Finn Russell is unreal. And like you said, the axis with Farrell, we've picked a 12.
Yeah,
that'll just make for some insane plays. And like the questions that we got, people said, I agree with that. Finn Russell and Owen Farrell at 10 and 12. That will be amazing. We didn't have anyone that complained about Josh Adams at 11 either. I feel like it's hard to disagree with picking him.
I don't actually think anyone disagreed with that at all, because how can you know? He's a top point scorer. He's literally what a winger needs to be, and that's so the main point that was brought up was about
13 and 15 really,
13 and 15 kind of bringing in 10, but we thought that Finn with Farrell that's the creativity and the work that you're going to get there. And Farrell, as much as he has moments where he does have a high shot here or there, or a bit of a lapse defensively, we're not going to, he's an amazing player. We're not discrediting what he is. He's probably the best player for England by not so much of a mile as it would have been, but because of Toje you've got.
Yeah.
But I think you got to look at him as the best England player
in the back
at
line.
the current, and so we were trying to. The question we got asked was, would you put anyone with him? Essentially, like, would you put Tuolangi there?
I think a Tuolangi would be, because they work well together.
Would you put Davis, Bundy Aki? There's a lot of options at 13, but who would your pick be?
I think Manu fits that spot for me. Like you said, it's gonna need to be physical, and in terms of physical 13s, I mean, all 3 of those players though, Aki, Manu, and Jonathan Davis, all fit that role of physical 13s. They will break the line. They will make big tackles.
Handling and everything.
Yeah, all great at handling. I mean, Jonathan Davis sometimes holds the ball for a step too far, but again,
well, I'm not
pedantics. But I think you'd struggle to pick one over the other. I think for me, my preference would be Manu, because for me, Farrell has to start at 12.
Yeah, but
I don't think any of the Welsh 12 options, or I think Ringrose maybe.
Yeah,
you could start at 12, but
I think if you really wanted to play physical, you'd have Farrell or Finn at 10. Personally, you'd probably have Farrell at 10, and then you could have Manu inside, which would be deadly. Yeah, and then you could put Davis or Aki outside, and you've got, if
you wanted to go for the physical,
want to go completely
only,
physical, because we know the South Africans are physical. But I think personally, I think what we said about the Farrell Tuolangi combination
in 12 and 13 is
great.
Both extremely strong defensively, but then again, both the other 2 are as well. Very strong defensively. And I think that 13 in the back row for me are the most contested shirts.
And I think 13, you've got 3 world-class players in Bundy Aki, Manu Tuolangi, and Jonathan Davis.
Yeah, you can't disagree with picking either of them. 3
of the best outside centres in the world.
And the thing is, you could really take all 3 of those on the tour, because they can all play 12 as well. So
it might be interesting seeing Davis playing 12. I
don't know if you agree, but I just think all 3 of those are going to get taken on that
as well. I think if they're going to stack the centres, I'd definitely pick all 3.
I would, 100%. Like, who are you picking to replace Farrell? That's a dedicated 12. I would just take those 3.
Exactly. And I think another place that we could have changed, maybe Watson outside of 14, possibly for Johnny May, but we're thinking more. I think actually Watson might be a better option. He's got a bit more to him.
He is, he can contest for that shirt. it's just so hard to pick. I think this is one of the really talented eras in Northern Hemisphere rugby. There's so much talent. It's hard to choose. As that's the thing, like another suggestion that was made to us was Stuart Hogg at 15.
And this was probably the one that everyone was going to say, because obviously everyone knows Hogg, they know his brand, they know his name.
Yeah.
And we just think that Liam Williams offers more in like just more options, and we just think he's a better player. If we're honest,
I personally feel it could be biased because I'm Welsh. It could be, but for me, I think Liam Williams at the moment for me is the best number 15 in the world.
I wouldn't disagree, and I actually think he's the best player in the Welsh team at the moment.